Welcome back, everyone. We're going to continue with Siddhartha and hopefully finish up this chapter. We'll see how it goes. So, already we saw that Siddhartha and Govinda were going to part ways. Siddhartha is not going to follow the Buddha, but Govinda is, which shows us what we all have gone through in our lives of having a friend that we realize we're going to part ways with them. So starting back where we were, for a long time the friends wandered through the woods. They lay down for a long time but could not sleep. Govinda pressed his friend again and again to tell him why he would not follow the Buddha's teachings, what flaw he found in them. But each time Siddhartha waved him off. Be at peace, Govinda. The illustrious one's teachings are very good. How could I find any flaw in them? Early in the morning, one of the Buddha's followers, one of his oldest monks, went through the garden and called to him all the new people who had sworn their allegiance to the teachings, in order to place upon them the yellow robe and instruct them in the first teachings and duties of their order. Thereupon Govinda tore himself away, embraced the friend of his youth, and drew on the monk's robe. So, tore himself away. So, Govinda was tearing himself away from Siddhartha, even though he wanted Siddhartha to follow. It's the feeling of you're embracing someone and then you pull your fingers off of them and run, tears himself away, embraces his friend, and goes and follows the Buddha, puts on the monk's robe. Siddhartha wandered through the grove deep in thought. There he met Gautama, the Buddha, the illustrious one, and as he greeted him respectfully, and the Buddha's expression was so full of goodness and peace, the young man plucked up courage and asked the illustrious one's permission to speak to him. Silently, the illustrious one nodded his permission. Siddhartha said, Yesterday, O illustrious one, I had the pleasure of hearing your wonderful teachings. I came from afar with my friend to hear you, and now my friend will remain with you. He has sworn allegiance to you. However, I am continuing my pilgrimage anew. I'm renewing my pilgrimage. I'm starting again. As you wish, said the illustrious one politely. My talk is perhaps too bold, continued Siddhartha, but I do not wish to leave the illustrious one without sincerely communicating to him my thoughts. Will the illustrious one hear me a little longer? Silently the Buddha nodded his consent. Siddhartha said, O illustrious one, in one thing above all I have admired your teachings. Everything is completely clear and proved. Just to stop for 1 second to talk about English pronunciation. When I say this sentence, O illustrious one, in one thing above all have I admired your teachings. Let's see how I say it faster. O illustrious one, in one thing above all I have admired your teachings. Have I admired. So in one thing above all have I admired your teachings. Notice I don't really say this H here. Above all ev. This shows you how we connect speech when we speak in English. Above all ev, I admired your teachings. Okay, continuing on. Everything is completely clear and proved. You show the world as a complete, unbroken chain, an eternal chain, linked together by cause and effect. A chain, like a chain with the links together, linked by cause and effect. Never has it been presented so clearly. Never has it been so irrefutably demonstrated. Surely every Brahman's heart must beat more quickly when through your teachings he looks at the world, completely coherent, without a loophole, clear as crystal, not dependent on chance, not dependent on the gods. Whether it is good or evil, whether life in itself is pain or pleasure, whether it is uncertain, that it may perhaps be this is not important. Maybe this is not important. But the unity of the world, the coherence of all events, the embracing of the big and the small, from the same stream, from the same law of cause, of becoming and dying. This shines clearly from your exalted teachings, O Perfect One. But according to your teachings, this unity and logical consequence of all things is broken in one place. Through a small gap there streams into the world of unity something strange, something new, something that was not there before and that cannot be demonstrated and proved. That is your doctrine of rising above the world, of salvation. With this small gap, through this small break, however, the eternal and single world law breaks down again. Forgive me if I raise this objection. Okay, what is this objection? So, he says at first that this teaching is what the Brahmins have been looking forward to, what the Upanishads pointed to. He shows how cause and effect is linked throughout all parts of the universe, how everything works together. So this is what all philosophers look for, is they want to show how the world works perfectly, that there's not a missing link in how they explain the world. And according to Siddhartha, everything fits. Good and evil, life and its pain and pleasures, the unity of the world, the coherence of all events, the embracing of big and small from the same stream, the same law of cause, of becoming, being born, and dying. Throughout your life, you become one thing and you die to that and move on to the next. You gain friends. Siddhartha just lost his friend, right? He gained his friend early in his life and now he just lost him. He didn't lose. They're still friends, but they're not going to be together. This is a becoming and a dying. He sees that the Buddha's teachings has taught how all this works. But there's one place where it's broken. And he's going to explain this later, but he says something new emerged from what you taught. This idea of rising above the world, of salvation. And this idea breaks down everything else. Okay, we're going to find out what that is. Gautama had listened quietly, motionless, and now the Perfect One spoke in his kind, polite, and clear voice. You have listened well to the teachings, O Brahman's son, and it is a credit to you that you have thought so deeply about them. You have found a flaw. Think well about it again. Let me warn you, you who are thirsty for knowledge, against the thicket of opinions and the conflict of words. Thicket is like a bush that has all of these different thorns in it. And the bushes are it's like a bunch of bushes put together. A bunch of bushes put together and you try to cross it. You can't because there's too many thorns and branches. You can't pass it. And he's saying that opinions and the conflict of opinions are like this. You can't get to truth through this thicket of opinions. Opinions mean nothing. They may be beautiful or ugly, clever or foolish. Anyone can embrace them or reject them. The teachings which you have heard, however, the teaching which you have heard, however, is not my opinion, and its goal is not to explain the world to those who are thirsty for knowledge. It's not about building knowledge. Siddhartha said, your world that you explained is perfect, like a philosopher. And the Buddha is saying, I'm not building philosophy. The goal of my teachings, its goal is quite different. Its goal is salvation from suffering, to be saved from suffering. That is what the Gautama teaches, nothing else. Do not be angry with me, O illustrious one, said the young man, Siddhartha. I have not spoken to you in this way, to quarrel with you, to fight with you about words. You are right when you say that opinions mean little. But may I say one more thing? I did not doubt you for one moment. Not for one moment did I doubt that you were the Buddha, the enlightened one. That you have reached the highest goal with so many, which so many thousands of Brahmins and Brahmins' sons are striving to reach, the priests. You have done so by your own seeking, in your own way, through thought, through meditation, through knowledge, through enlightenment. You have learned nothing through teachings, and so I think, O illustrious one, that nobody finds salvation through teachings. To nobody, O illustrious one, can you communicate in words and teachings what happened to you in your hour of enlightenment. He's saying that you are the Buddha. You're not. I'm not saying that you aren't correct, but he's saying right here, you can't communicate what it was like to achieve enlightenment in words. Just like maybe you taught your child or something. You try to teach them about life, right? But until they experience it, they don't really know it. You try to teach them ahead of time, so when they get to that point where they experience something, they know how to get through it. You're preparing them for it, right? In a way, maybe that is what the Buddha is doing with his teachings. He's preparing people to walk through the different stages to get to enlightenment. But Siddhartha points out that he can't actually teach them how to get enlightenment because they have to experience it themselves. And it has to come from them. The teachings of the enlightened Buddha embrace much. They teach much, how to live righteously, how to avoid evil. But there's one thing that this clear, worthy instruction does not contain. It does not contain the secret of what the illustrious one himself experienced. He alone among hundreds of thousands. It does not teach what the Buddha actually experienced, because he's the only one that's experienced it. They have no conception of how to understand that experience. It's like an alien trying to teach us about alien things. We can't even understand it. It's like God trying to teach us about God. We can't understand it. It's like us trying to teach a dog what it's like to be human. That is what I thought and realized when I heard your teachings. That is why I'm going on my own way. Not to seek another doctrine and better doctrine, for I know there's none, but to leave all teachings, all doctrines, and all teachers, and reach my goal alone or die. So he thinks the Buddha's teaching is the best teaching. He is teaching the right way. But what he says is that the problem is you have to reach it on your own. No one can lead you to it. And he said, that's why I'm going on my way. Not to seek another better doctrine, because there is none. In a way, this is a time of despair. There is no way. It's like when you grow up and you realize there's no book that teaches you exactly how to live. You know, even some would think that there is a book that teaches you everything. Maybe I'm wrong. Overall, I think that there is nothing that teaches you exactly how to live at any moment. Maybe you have found it and I have not, but in my experience, there is none. And in a way, this brings despair. But it also leads you to only having one way, and that is to experience things yourself. And that is what Siddhartha, this book, is teaching. This is the Buddha of Hermann Hesse. But I will often remember this day, O illustrious one, this hour when my eyes beheld a holy man. The Buddha's eyes were lowered, his unfathomable face expressed complete equanimity. Okay, we're going to stop here, and we'll start with the next one, and we'll be able to finish this on the next one. But this is a lot. Siddhartha has realized that the Buddha taught the right things, but there's no way to get to it except through experience, right? For instance, when I turned 40, I finally realized that I was going to die someday. Why did I realize this? Because I've reached the middle of my life. Before I hadn't reached the middle of my life. I didn't know what it felt like to feel like you're on the other end, to feel like now you're going downhill. It doesn't mean my life is meaningless, but I realized something that I can't teach to someone else. I can maybe help them ahead of time to kind of get ready for it, or tell them ways to get through it once they get there that they can remember, once they get there. But no one knows until you experience it. Or love. You can't really explain this one. Love of a parent. I don't know this yet. I'm not a parent. What is it to die? You don't know this until you get close to dying, and then how do you come back from that? There's some things you can't learn except through experience, and that's what we're talking about here, right? Okay, we'll start next time. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I really need your help. Share my channel with someone else that you know that's learning. In order for me to keep doing this, I have to keep gaining followers so that eventually I could get to the point where I could do this full time and increase production values and look at different things. So I really need your help. Please like and subscribe, and hit me up on Facebook at RJK English, and we can talk through even more. I do this all the time with people from around the world, and I will definitely help you as much as I can. All right, see you later.